Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from the now buried in snow Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up on today's episode, we have an interview with
do.
Mike Norton,
Yeah.
the man responsible for posting on YouTube those secret videos
Yeah.
from inside the LDS temple. So you're going to want to stick around for that.
Tracked him down.
Yeah, so it was so hard.
It was very difficult. We're super sleuths. I don't know if you guys know this, but yeah, that's a get right there.
Yeah. And so that's it's a great interview. You'll want to stick around and listen to that.
Yeah, you'll definitely want to hear that.
Yeah, and in the
Because the guy's an interesting guy.
oh yeah,
He's something to listen to.
I loved hearing about his motivations for the whole thing. So
Everything was
Yeah.
pretty fascinating.
yeah, very interesting.
Anyway.
So Dan,
Yeah.
there's other stuff going on in the world.
There is?
Yeah.
Do tell.
And apparently, according to an article that I read, God is alive and well in America.
Oh, thank goodness.
He's alive and well. Don't worry.
I thought he died.
Well,
I was terrified that we might have lost him.
Yeah. I was a little worried too. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country who are very, very concerned about whether or not God is still alive. in
Well,
America.
yeah. All you hear in the media these days is how fewer and fewer people are declaring their belief.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
In God.
Except there's one person who doesn't agree with that.
Oh,
And that's the editor-in-chief of the Gallup Poll, Frank Newport. Is his
Okay.
name. And he is he's a very religious-y dude.
okay.
He just wrote a new book called God is Alive and Well. So that's where I guess that comes from.
Okay.
He's anyways, he the religion news service,
Mhm.
excuse me, actually just did a little Q&A with him. And that was what I read and blah, blah, blah. And,
Sure.
you know, it's all this stuff. They ask him, like, why did you write this book? And your grandfather was somewhat of a Southern Baptist bigwig. No.
Oh, wow. The hard-hitting questions.
Oh, yeah. But all the way down at the bottom of this thing is the question, why do you propose that the government and companies promote religion as a means to reduce healthcare costs? And I was like, my interest is now piqued.
Yeah. Okay.
And so his answer is, that certainly is controversial. We have separation of church and state in this country, but the correlation between church and well-being has been established by Gallup and many other organizations.
Oh.
The question is causality. Maybe healthier people choose to be more religious, but it's clear that religious people are less of a drain on our mental and physical health systems. So a company may want to give discounts for employees who attend church 4 to 5 times a month. Just as many give discounts for employees who go to the gym.
Oh, my gosh.
If America were to become more religious, and this is controversial, it would become healthier.
Yeah, that is kind of controversial because it's bullshit. You know what's interesting about this?
Yeah.
Here's what immediately jumps to my mind.
Yeah.
Because people, when they see a correlative like people who are religious are somehow are using mental health services less than people who are not religious.
Right.
People want to make causal claims on that, and
Right.
he's clearly avoiding that gingerly. But at the same time making it.
What the assumption is that people who are religious would be just as likely, if they were mentally ill, to use mental health services as people who are not religious.
Fine.
Right? But that's what people are assuming. And I
Right,
would say
right.
they're probably a lot less likely.
To you, right.
Just built into it. Because
here's what I'm going to say.
their crazy works to their benefit a lot of times
within a religious
within
context.
a religious context.
Not only that, here are a few things that I'm just going to throw out. These are just sort of top of my head things because I didn't prepare anything for this. But here's a few thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I know at least one person who thinks that it's evil to go to a mental health professional.
Oh, really?
Who thinks
evil?
Who thinks that it means that you're turning your back on God,
on the help that God could give you.
right? He thinks that prayer is the answer, and not, and basically that practitioners of therapy are not satanic, but are
Charlatans.
It's the secular way of dealing with things, and not the right way of dealing with things, which is the religious way.
Okay.
So that accounts for some of it.
Okay.
Which, I mean, maybe the insurance companies would love to take that into consideration. They don't want to pay.
No, I mean, the guy makes a good point.
Right,
from
yeah.
a financial perspective, I suppose.
Not for consumers of insurance, but for insurance companies, he makes a great point. I'm sure insurance companies would love to do that.
And not a good point for employees of these companies
Right,
that require that they go to church.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Bullshit.
But here's the other thing that I wanted to say in terms of this correlative. It makes sense to me, considering how our country treats its atheists. That's and considering how many of our, we have all of these listeners who have written in, and you and I have dealt with this too, where you come out of the closet as an atheist and your family turns their back on you for a while.
Yeah.
Everybody yells at you. Everybody tells you that you're hurting them by doing it. They think you're evil.
Right.
Yeah, you might want some therapy after that.
Once you've gotten yourself out of a church, that's when you need therapy. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's and not just that, but yeah, therapy. Religion sort of gets its hooks in you.
Yeah.
You may need some help wrapping your head around the whole thing. I totally get that. However, were society more accepting if we lived in a society that accepted atheism, that accepted non-belief more, which we will, which is happening over time.
There. Yeah.
It won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah. No.
So you can't make. So he's right to say that you can't make a causal correlative there. It's not a causal relationship. It's a relationship, but it's one that will go away over time.
Yeah. And this dude, this kind of just speaks to the whole issue of how, people who conduct polls can heavily influence the outcomes of.
Oh, yeah.
Because this dude wants to see that God is alive and well in America.
Right.
And so his polls, well, we at Gallup have found.
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
Well, yeah, but what are the questions that you're asking? And
confirmation
how
bias, anybody?
Yeah, and how deeply are you digging in order to find that God is alive and well in America?
Here's the thing.
Which
a poll,
I'm not going to dispute.
A poll
this
is
not
a
religious country.
Right.
Americans are a religious folk.
Right.
And so, while these numbers might be shifting, let's face it, God is still fine.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing we need to acknowledge is that a poll, especially one from a big polling organization like this, is not a scientific study.
Right.
A poll is a poll.
Right.
It's asking of questions. And so we can't treat it as, something that's been really well dealt with. P.S. By the way, I just wanted to shout out to Jeremy Smith on the Facebook, our Facebook friend. He also sent the same story in.
Oh, did he?
I just wanted to shout out to him on that. You found it independently, but
yeah, I didn't realize that. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy Smith. Let me think. How many Jeremy Smiths have I known in my life?
He's a buddy of mine. He's a guy.
Really?
Yeah. He goes to Burning Man with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I went on my mission. I knew a Jeremy Smith.
I think there might.
I work with a Jeremy Smith. not. I don't want to diss your name, dude, but there's a lot of you.
Yeah. Which one of you are you?
I was I immediately was like, really, Jeremy?
Yeah. That's funny. We don't normally say last names. We like to keep this on a first name basis, but that's not to hide anything. That's just because it's friendly.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy Smith.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Here's an interesting little bit of news.
Oh.
So you know how we had an election? Do you remember that we had an election a month or so ago? A couple months ago?
Vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So now that it's 2013, folks are starting to get swore in.
Yeah.
For their things. Well, a congresswoman was just sworn in on a non-holy text.
Oh, what did she use?
The Constitution.
Well, imagine that, because she's swearing to uphold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, ain't that a thing?
Yeah.
She will not say what religious affiliation she has or hasn't.
Really?
She just doesn't declare any religious affiliation.
Good for her. Keeping it private, as it should be.
Do you want to take a guess as to what state she's from?
Massachusetts.
Arizona.
What?
Right?
Weird.
Mind equals blown. Yeah.
Wow, our neighbors to the south, I would not have...
No, you don't see that coming.
I would not have thought that.
I wonder if Sedona's in her region or something.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway.
It's not the Phoenix area.
No.
Or I don't know any other part of Arizona.
Yuma? I don't know. Yeah. But no, she's religiously unaffiliated.
It's not border country. That's for sure.
John Boehner had to swear her in over nothing.
Did she do the "So Help Me God," or did she say?
No, I assume. Well, I looked at several things.
And they don't say "So Help Me God." They say, what do they say at the end of their oath of office?
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
No, that's here in Utah.
Yeah,
that's not.
No, I don't know what I think she didn't have any God references.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just, I swear.
Don't they say, like, "This is my solemn oath" or something like that?
I don't
like
know.
There's some silly little plug-in because you have to say something. After you say an oath, you have to then say kind of a post-oath oath.
the wind down.
Yeah. You just can't end an oath. You have to call on some other power.
Yeah, I don't.
Right?
I swear by all that's good and holy. I don't know.
Well, all right.
So there you go.
Not bad.
She used a document that actually pertains to her, to what she's about to do.
Yeah, I think, sure. Good for her.
Yeah.
I wonder, what would you want to swear on?
I don't understand the concept of swearing on something at all.
I mean, you're putting your hand on something and saying that that's important to you. I don't know. That's what you give. I don't know. I think the whole putting your hand on the Bible was about that it's like, swearing on your mother's grave type thing.
I
right?
swear before God.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit. I actually was willing to put my hand on this Bible.
Right.
And if I'm lying right now, it's going to start burning my hand. Right?
Jesus,
like that was sort of the idea.
Jesus will think that that's an extra lie.
Yeah.
That's like a mega lie.
Yeah.
If you do that.
So yeah, but you wouldn't want to put your hand on anything? They're going to make you put your hand on something.
I don't care. Yeah, I mean, if I were being sworn into Congress, I think the Constitution's about the right thing.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know. I mean, what am I going to do? Hitchens?
God is not great.
God is not great.
A copy of,
just as a big fuck you to everybody else.
Copy of Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Dwell. A copy of Dwell.
I swear on this modern architecture. I swear by my love for beautiful mid-century furniture. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, honestly, swearing only means something if it means something. You know what I mean? Taking an oath only means something if it means something to you internally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what my hand's on. All that matters is what's going on in my brain.
But you just, wouldn't you just want to screw with people? I mean, just like a big box of crystals or something,
I swear on this quartz, on this smoky quartz.
Big pile of, yeah, anyways.
Magnifying this oath in my fourth and fifth chakras. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
no,
sure. Okay.
But I think that's cool. Apparently the current congressional oath does supposedly end in "So help me God."
Oh, really?
But I'm sure that they just eliminated that.
Interesting. All right. Well, moving to England.
Oh.
Those the bishops, the Anglican bishops,
Mm-hmm.
Church of England bishops,
are
I think we talked about this not too long ago, in fact, that Parliament is moving to make it legal for members of the monarchy to marry Catholics.
Right.
Um,
Which, by the way, how delightful is it that there's still some people in England for whom the government can control who they get to marry?
it's pretty amazing.
And they're the most powerful family in the country.
Well, it turns out that members of that family like it as it currently is.
Yeah.
They don't want their descendants to be able to marry Catholics. Prince Charles has actually spoken out.
Oh.
He's expressed concern, according to an unnamed friend, or unnamed friends, actually, it says. He apparently, it says that Charles is kind of angry about the bill. His main concern is that one of his descendants might marry a Catholic and have a child that is brought up as a Roman Catholic.
Yeah, that'd be awful.
And then, were that child brought up as a Catholic and assumed the throne, there would be a constitutional crisis because the reigning monarch is also supreme governor of the established Church of England.
Right. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. And so we've got some people very concerned about this reality, this possibility, rather.
I'd love it if a Catholic was suddenly the head of the of the Anglican Church. It was suddenly just...
Yeah.
I mean, it has happened before, but, I mean, you have to go back to Elizabeth. Well, not Elizabeth. You have to go back to, who was before Elizabeth?
Mary?
Mary. She was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It was Mary before Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
Was she actually on the throne? I mean, I'm trying to think about the movie, because that's the only way that I know this story. Because I don't actually know it from history class.
Yeah, I only know it from, like, correlating everything to theater. So we're coming at this from some bad angles here. But yeah, Mary was on. It was so Henry VIII was the one who broke away from the Catholic Church and established the Church of England.
Yes.
And
I remember that much from history class.
Yeah, I think Mary was the one who was like, no, Catholic. And like tried to take it back to Catholic.
Right.
And that's why she's called Bloody Mary, because she murdered a bunch of Church of England people.
Oh my. Oh, and then they kicked her off the throne. Elizabeth did. Is that what happened? Or was there somebody between Mary and Elizabeth?
I think she was killed. Mary was, or something. No.
I thought she was just exiled.
Oh yeah. No, she was booted, and then Elizabeth had her killed. Yeah.
Is that in the movie?
I don't know I don't even know what movie we're referring to.
The one with Cate Blanchett.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh God. Oh my God. Good. Good movie.
Well,
I don't remember it very well.
I would assume so.
Yeah. But nonetheless, yeah, the Catholics, that would be quite the problem. This is also being pushed through at the same time that they're trying to reform the whole girl being able to, it's the oldest child, not the oldest male child.
Right, that's new.
And that's actually something that the royal family is very happy about.
Yeah.
But they have to get this passed before the birth of this next kid.
Before Middleton's
from Kate and
kid comes out.
from whatever their names are, William and Kate.
Yeah.
When they have their kid, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Who
because
knows?
Because whatever the law is when the kid's born, obviously that...
Is that what governs it?
I believe so. I think
imagine.
that's why they're rushing it through.
Okay. Well, you just don't want to muddy the water with this sort of thing.
Yeah, they want it to be cut and dry.
Except that I'm sure that everybody that's going through this, in the back of their head, they're like, why do we still have a monarchy? The hell are we doing?
Really?
I'm sure a lot of them. No.
I bet there's plenty who think that, but I think there are also plenty who like the tradition.
If you're a politician, it's just so... It's like, what are we doing? Why do we still do this? What purpose does it serve?
Yeah.
It's just, it's tradition. The English do love their tradition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go. We'll see how that plays out. Good luck, England.
I hope you get
enjoy yourselves.
A Catholic girl born of...
I hope it's twins and one of them is Catholic and one of them is Church of England. And they don't know who's who.
And one's a boy and one's a girl and it's just a mess.
It's just a mess.
Yeah.
And they all come out simultaneously.
They're just fighting sideways.
They just pop out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think she could handle that.
I don't.
No. She's not.
God, I hope not.
She doesn't seem to have birthing hips.
she's not a big girl. That's
No.
true. Anywho, hey, I'm going to go to your old stomping grounds, near your old stomping grounds.
Where?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
You don't sound excited about Tulsa.
Tulsa's Tulsa.
Almost irrefutable, that statement.
Yeah, I think it's their slogan. Tulsa's Tulsa.
We're in Oklahoma. Anyway,
Oklahoma is okay. It used to say that on the license plate.
Right.
It probably still does, actually. Oklahoma is okay.
And try to talk us out of it. Yeah, so there's a judge in so there's a case in Oklahoma involving a megachurch in Oklahoma.
There are those. Yeah.
Which there was so a 13-year-old girl got raped by an employee of this church in the church, who has since been convicted and has admitted to sexually assaulting multiple people in the church.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What position did the person have?
I think he was a janitor, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like
so he wasn't like
he wasn't a priest. He wasn't in. Yeah, it's not that.
Okay.
And that's not what so far. This story is not worthy of our talking about it, in my mind.
No. So why are we talking about it?
Well, I'm going to get to it. I'm going bit by bit here. The girl's mother decided to file suit against the church, which I get that because the church, if this guy was clearly...
Were they somehow negligent in...
Well, here's the deal. So the church said, no, we're not liable for this. But here's the deal. The church apparently... didn't report things. They knew about sexual assaults from this guy and didn't report them until they had done their own internal investigation.
Ew, that's a no-no.
That's a huge no-no.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Here's what's funny. So yeah, the church was arguing in court that they weren't liable and that there were no grounds to sue them.
Yeah.
A judge has now disagreed and said that there's grounds enough to sue. That doesn't mean that there's been a decision in the case, but the church was filing for a dismissal. They did not get it.
Huh. Okay.
The mother... So how much do you think the mother's seeking in damages?
Against a megachurch?
Uh-huh.
This has got to be in the millions.
I would have thought so, too.
$20.
More than $75,000.
Really?
That seems totally reasonable to me.
Yeah.
That's such a small amount. In this in our society, that is low. I was thinking millions too. I was thinking that's an easy million plus, or at least
depends
half a
on
million.
how mega the church is. It might be kind of a minor mega.
It doesn't.
It may only be like an 8,000 member church.
Nevertheless, but the whole thing is the thing that got to me. The reason I brought it up was the fact that churches feel like it's okay for them to do an internal investigation. And this is just sort of, this is the same as the Catholics and their priests doing their, with all of their scandals.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Why would you think that you somehow can intervene or get in the middle of that process? Rape is... why would you even consider it?
Right.
But it's kind of mind-boggling.
Well,
what kind of authority do they think they have?
Exactly. They have the highest authority. It's the highest.
Yeah.
And by that I mean the highest in the state of Oklahoma. No,
is a church?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Utah in that regard. It's just not centralized
one,
of a church.
It's not one church. Yeah. It's any church.
Yeah.
No, it's just that is so disturbing to me. In part because you'd think that just out of a sense of self-preservation and reputation, any smart organization, their first impulse would be, "Holy shit, authorities, get in here! Yeah. We just need to look like we're doing everything right now."
Yeah, but for whatever reason, you're right. It is churches just feel like they can handle their own shit for whatever reason.
Well, and it's not, the sexual abuse thing is clearly the biggest thing, and
Right.
it's not just churches. It's it's the Mormon Church with the Boy Scouts, and it's the Boy Scouts themselves. It's all of these groups that are. I think the impulse is to protect their own, is to like try and take, if it's an errant pastor, if it's a priest who's molesting young boys,
Right.
if it's it's like well, this is one of us.
And why ruin a good priest's career
Right.
over something
As trivial as
that really more than anything needs to be worked out with God, right?
That's what it is. It's between these people and God.
They know that any sort of sin like that, right? Any sort of act like that is actually sin,
Right. And so they can repent for it.
And if they repent, why besmirch their reputation,
Their good name,
and why
all of the
throw
good
them
works that they have done
and will do or won't be able to do because they're sitting in a prison somewhere.
I mean
that's the thinking.
Yeah. It's wrong. That thinking is wrong.
Yeah.
It baffles me. But I mean, I don't know. This is when people say what harm comes from religion.
Yeah.
Well, it's harmless.
Yeah. No, point to that.
That there
It's
is
that
harm.
attitude.
There is harm.
That
there.
attitude is very harmful.
There's not universal harm,
no. Well,
but there's the potential for a lot of harm. I will not abide someone saying
that churches are universally bad.
that that religion is going
always.
to hurt you, and you're going to be damaged by religion. Period. I just think that's way too broad a claim to be making.
Too broad of a claim. Too many good people that we've known, who go to church every week, who do their thing,
who are great people, intelligent people, do good work in the world,
but
do
for
good
whatever
things.
reason, they've got this thing that they just have to believe in God.
Yeah, it makes them feel good. I don't
get it.
I don't get it, but I don't care.
Yeah,
but when this shit happens,
you care.
When someone's covering up rape, when someone's handling things outside of the system that they need to be handling it in, harm is being done, and I care deeply about that.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
Did you know, Dan, that Jesus was a dirty, dirty God?
God is a dirty God. What do you mean?
A guy by the name of Johnny Moore just wrote a book called Dirty God, and he's a professor of religion and vice president at Liberty University.
Is Liberty a Christian university?
I think it is. Yeah, I
don't know Liberty.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But anyways, so he likes to go around and remind people that Jesus is not the Jesus that we see in religious art.
Oh.
Or that he just wasn't that way, right?
Yeah. Liberty University is a Christian college.
Yeah. And he he wasn't just like floating around in perfectly white robes and this and that. That when he was amongst men, he was here to experience our lives, right? And so he, in order to get people's attention, apparently has adopted this idea of the dirty God, right? And so he, he likes all this walking between towns. He would have probably pooped on the side of the road somewhere. That's one thing that he brings up. And he also brings up that just because of like sanitary issues at the time, he probably had was it dysentery? And had diarrhea on the side of the road somewhere.
Oh, we all did.
And apparently, he when he starts to say this, there are members of the religious community who are like, Jesus had diarrhea?
Jesus had holy bowels. He never had diarrhea.
He never had diarrhea, people.
Jesus,
what nerve?
Honestly,
what nerve?
Jesus's excrement,
Johnny Moore,
was just translated.
it just
aspirated from his body and became fertilizer. It turned into flowers.
Immediately, it skipped the whole stage. It just
When-
absorbed immediately into
when-
the plants around
When
it.
Jesus had to go, flowers just appeared on the side of the road. There was no poop, just flowers.
Oh, yeah.
He made the world beautiful wherever
He did.
he went.
He really did. He just floated around.
Yeah.
Glitter. Pooed.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't gay.
Rude.
What? Oh, I thought that's what
might
y'all
have-
did.
Might have been.
Well, that's true. That's
Who
true.
knows? Who knows what he was?
A rabbi that wasn't married? I think.
Hello. Little light in his sandals, if you know what I mean.
Right?
Yeah.
Have you seen how his flowy clothes?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Jesus. Hey, Jesus.
Jesus. All hanging out with all those 12 mans.
He does bring up some interesting points, though,
Okay.
that I had kind of sort of somehow forgotten. Peter was a fisherman, right?
Yeah.
We know how, like, men of the sea are, right? Salty characters,
Indeed.
so to speak. Matthew was a tax collector. Kind of the epitome of unsavory jobs at that time.
Yeah, okay.
Judas, who he hung out with,
Sure.
was like a traitor who always had his hand in the money box, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
And
I hope he doesn't get on to Mary Magdalene being a hooker, because she wasn't by any actual account.
Simon was a member of a radical political party
Okay.
that believed in using violence against the Romans. And so, like, what I do find interesting about what he is trying to do with the image of Jesus is that he's trying to pull him into much more of sort of the radical realm.
Yeah. Well, he was radical. I mean,
he was radical,
he
but
was clearly that.
Christians don't like to think of the guy that's being described in the New Testament as being this unsavory radical character who did hang out with prostitutes. He doesn't mention Mary,
Right, but he did hang out with prostitutes.
He did hang out with prostitutes.
Absolutely, and lepers and all kinds of
Yeah,
things.
exactly. And so, like,
That's
he
dirty,
was kind of
right there.
undeniably dirty.
Lepers.
Oh,
Now we're being leperist,
we're being
lepidopterist.
I don't know what that would be. But anyways, obviously leprosy isn't what it used to be.
No, and you can't help it if you got leprosy. I mean,
Absolutely.
But I mean, the point is, he was getting down into the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
Absolutely, and he did poop.
yeah. Of course he pooped.
Of course, he pooped.
Everybody poops.
There's a whole book.
Everybody has diarrhea. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every once in a while.
I mean, I'm guessing though that everybody felt awesome after that loaves and fishes meal. You get some holy loaves and fishes.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel great. It's gonna be like doing a master cleanse or something.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh yeah, whole like magic loaves and fishes.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That's gonna be some good stuff.
Magic loaves and fishes. I remember the first time I had magic loaves and fishes.
Was that at the Metropolitan downtown? I think they had that on the menu back when they existed.
It was a very small portion, though.
Yeah, but so good. They just prepared it really well. Did you know that a local chef here from here in Utah beat Bobby Flay on Iron Chef?
Yeah, I heard
recently?
that. I heard.
Wow.
Over there.
We're fancy here, folks.
Oh, yeah. We have one restaurant that is fancy.
We have a lot of great restaurants.
We have a lot of great restaurants,
Anyway.
but one that's actually headed by sort of a really great chef.
A holy shit chef.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, well, you tried to get me away from the South, but I'm going back. Well,
Why,
I'm going
Dan?
to Texas.
Why, Dan?
I'm going to Jackson. No. So in Texas, I think we may have talked a little bit about this.
What?
About not this specific story, but about a concept here.
Okay.
So Texas schools started to implement. A few Texas schools started to implement a policy where, because funding is based on attendance, they started to make kids wear little badges that had RFID chips in them, so that they knew where the kids were on campus at all times.
Wow. Okay. I love it.
Which does increase attendance apparently.
Okay.
And has
Awesome.
Has some great effects. Has some negative effects too. One of those being that apparently RFID chips are the mark of the beast.
I've heard that. Yeah.
The mark of the beast. It's a goddamn card with a chip in it.
No, we have talked about something along these lines. Because I remember telling the story of being in like my math class. I think it was like trig, right? I'm sitting in trig, and there's my math teacher who was total evangelical Christian type, and she was just going off and off about. It was just a rumor. This is like pre people really getting on the internet. This was like 92, right? And so she's just going nuts about the fact that the credit card companies or banks were going to want to put a chip in your hand, and that's how you would pay, right?
Yeah.
And then I can't remember how we linked that in before, but yeah, I remember that very, very, very well. And just sitting there going, what the hell is she talking about?
Well, all of this comes from Revelations 13 in the Bible, which who was it that wrote Revelations?
John the Revelator?
Yeah, that guy was nuts. That was a crazy person.
Like, yeah?
So I went back to Revelation 13
like what?
And I checked it out. It's all about the beast. There's a first part of it talks about the beast of the sea. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads with 10 crowns on its horn. Like, this guy was tripping.
Yeah, he got into something wacky. He wandered out into the desert and
he did.
Had some fun times.
Yeah, that dude harvested a special mushroom or two in his day.
No, surely not.
Impossible, right? No, and then it's like the second half of it from verse 11 on is all about like the beast of the earth. That was the beast of the sea, and then then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. Ooh! It exercised all of the authority of the first beast on its behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed, and it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven in full view of the people because of the blah 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 blah.
Yeah, he was
don't
tripping.
See anything about RFID, about radio frequency identification.
I don't know.
It does say that the beast also
fire from heaven.
It said it forced all the people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name.
Are they making the kids buy their school lunches with the RFID?
No,
like, if you linked it somehow
to shopping, first of all,
buying and selling, then okay, I can see the connection. I still think you're crazy,
right?
But I can see how you're tying it in. I don't even see how they're tying it in.
Here's what I want. I want them to either get you have to pay for your lunch either with your RFID card, or you can pay with cash, and it's $6.66.
Oh my God! The other day at Chubby's, our favorite neighborhood Mexican restaurant, they was it you? Was the receipt came up to $6.66?
Oh yeah.
And you no, it was $5.66. And you tipped $1,
right?
So that it would be $6.66. And this poor. I mean, this poor woman who's standing there is just like, she's behind the register and she's just looking at it like, can't you please make it 99 or 101? Please. I don't want to have to enter 666 into this computer.
I think I commented on it too. I was like, oh, I love it when my thing comes out to 666.
She did not like it at all.
Oh, Lord. So anyway, I do not understand how any of this has to do with the RFID chips, but apparently it does to them. And this girl sued a girl named Andrea Hernandez is suing on the grounds that it's the mark of the beast. Apparently, a judge was not sympathetic to her plight.
Probably not.
No. It was a federal court ruling.
Oh my God.
Which said that if she wants to stay at the school, she would be required to wear the badge.
It's just a badge. They're not inserting it under her skin.
Right, no. And you don't have to carry it in your left hand.
Yeah.
That way
Don't
you know
put
that
it on your forehead.
Right. You'll be fine.
You have to strap it to your forehead. That's part of the school's requirements.
Right. And it should be. It should be a forehead strap with horns coming out of it.
Yeah.
Just to remind you.
Yeah.
That this is the beast.
And
that's what she should do.
You have to speak with the voice of a dragon.
How do dragons sound?
I don't know.
It'd be funny if they were like
Komodo dragons.
Like a Charles Nelson Riley sort of voice. The dragon comes out of the sea and it's breathing fire, and then it's like, so where's the best place to get sushi around here?
That's dumb.
That's how I want to imagine my dragons. Leave me alone. As far as I'm concerned, fire-breathing dragons sound like Truman Capote. Paul Lind, the dragon.
Samantha.
I love it. That's great. That's how dragons sound, everybody. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, my God. That was our last one, wasn't it?
Sure.
All right.
I'm done.
I'm done, too. If you'd like to comment on any of this, please look us up on Facebook.com/TGIAtheist and like us.
Yeah, like us
and
there.
And you can comment and join in and talk to each other.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff happening there. And then you can email us if you want to get straight to the nitty-gritty.
Mm-hmm.
That's podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And you can also leave us a voicemail at 424-666. 8442.
Wait a minute. I've never noticed that before.
I know.
The mark of the beast in our own phone number.
I know. We went with a Beverly Hills number just so we could get the 666.
I know.
So, anyways.
Aren't we just naughty?
Yeah, I know. And it's a Beverly Hills number.
We're very swanky.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got some audio here.
Mm-hmm. Well, technically our whole show is audio.
Well...
But this is from another source.
Us. There we go. You're right. So Pastor Scott Lively says, wedding songs to homosexual marriage caused Noah's flood. That's what this whole little thing's about. So have fun.
We need to remember that in the time leading up to the flood, what the rabbis teach about the last straw for God, before he brought the flood, was when they started writing wedding songs to homosexual marriage. And Jesus said that you'll know the end times, it'll be like the days of Noah. There's never been a time in the history of the world since before the flood when homosexual marriage has been open and celebrated. And that's another sign that I believe that we're close to the end.
You know, Scott, you're talking to thousands of people across the country, and some of them are actually probably pastors. What would you say to pastors out there who are facing, they've come up with these issues. These issues have come across their knowledge. They can't escape it, whether it's domestic partnerships or it's benefits for homosexuals or whatever, and it's hurtling toward gay marriage in every state. What would you say to them by way of preparing themselves and also how they should respond?
Well, it's time to adopt an apostolic mentality as Christians. And then to look to Revelation. How did they prevail? They prevailed by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony, and number 3, and I think this is most important, they did not love their lives unto death. We're entering into a time that's in which standing for the truth of God is going to cost you more than just a few people walking out of your congregation. And the temptation to compromise with the world, especially on this issue. I think this is the issue of the end times, homosexuality, and it's present. If you do a careful examination of all the scriptures dealing with this from the beginning all the way to the end, God is painting a very clear picture that this represents the outer extent of rebellion against Him in a society, and the last thing that happens before wrath.
All right. It is going to be a long death rattle.
Will you do me a favor?
What?
Will you stop bringing about the end of the world?
Oh, but I thought they want this. They want Jesus to come back.
Oh, yeah.
I'm helping them out.
That's true. Although, yeah, honestly.
That's what they want.
They need to get their story straight. They need
to be promoting homosexuality so they can,
They need to be advancing. Well, he can't be seen to be advancing. He needs to work behind the scenes.
Oh, he works behind the scenes. He totally works behind the scenes.
That guy works way behind the scenes.
That's silliness. Okay. Yeah, but I caught a little bit of you might have to die. You might have to lay down your life for this.
Yeah.
He's getting his people ready for an all-out conflict.
There's nothing more appealing to a believer than the thought that, like, the war is coming.
Yeah.
And we might have to fight for our rights.
Gird up your loins, people.
Oh, the rallying cry.
Yeah.
It feels so good to hear.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Onward, Christian soldiers marching as to war.
They love it, man. There is nothing more fun than hearing that you get to be on the right side of the battle.
Yeah.
I mean, we like it too.
Yeah, we like it.
We're on the right side.
We're totally on the right side.
We're on the actual right side.
Yeah.
Or at least
we're actually there.
We're on the side that history will judge to be the right side.
Yeah.
Later on. So that's nice. That feels good.
Good. Way to be, self-affirming.
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
Dan, your
if they can do it, we
system.
can do it. Yeah. Well, hey, not that many other people are going to do it for me. I have to affirm myself.
That's true. Probably not that many.
So there you go.
Not a lot of people go around affirming you, do they, Dan?
No, it doesn't happen.
Oh, Dan.
Oh, my life is so hard.
Oh, Dan, I'll affirm you.
Well, thanks.
You're doing a knock-up job today.
Well, thanks, Frank. I think you're doing great.
Oh,
okay. We have some correspondence.
Oh,
from various and sundry folks.
Yeah. In fact.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say we heard from.
Oh, we heard from Nancy on the Facebook.
Yeah, we did.
Nancy says some really nice things.
Very lovely things.
She mentions that she woke up to atheism about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's in her 70s.
Yeah, she was letting us know that it's not purely the province of the young.
Yeah, which I think is wonderful. She's totally into podcasts, listens to tons of them.
Yeah.
And says a lot of nice things about this one. So thank you very much, Nancy.
Thanks, Nana.
We also have we received a voicemail from Mitch. He said lots of nice things.
Yeah.
We're not going to play it just for the sake of time and whatnot. But
yeah, we got a lot to get to. But
he said nice things, so thank you very much, Mitch.
Yeah.
We'll take the affirmations. Dan especially will take the affirmations.
Especially today. I really need them. Because Frank's affirmations are those are alligator affirmations right there.
Oh, no.
He's not being
true.
Sincere. I don't feel it.
I beg your pardon.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God.
We heard from Erica. I wanted to read a little bit of what Erica wrote to us.
Oh, cool.
Hi,
Erica.
She's great. But this one was an interesting one, I thought. She wrote, my boyfriend was talking the other day about his 80-year-old, very devout Catholic mother and his experiences growing up with her. So many infuriating stories of her unsupportiveness, unacceptance, and narrow-mindedness. Example: he put together an astronomy education program, which won a national award. It was a band that performed educational songs about astronomy for kids, and their final performance was sponsored by the university and other organizations, including an atheist one. And she refused to attend.
Because of the atheists?
Yeah.
Okay.
He also talked about how she refused to take her grandkids to Disneyland because they extended benefits to same-sex partners.
Wow, she is Catholic.
Yeah. And, and Erica says, I finally said, please don't tell me any more horrible stories about your mother. I'm beginning not to like her. His response was, well, don't feel that way. It's not her fault. If there's anyone to blame, it's the church. She doesn't have a mind of her own. She only does what she's told to do. So here's where she says she has an issue. She says, why is it that somebody can get off the hook for their behavior solely because of the fact that they're religious and do not want the church and do what the church tells them to do?
Yeah.
I don't get a Trump card, and neither do you, she says.
Yeah. Here's who gets Trump cards.
Yeah.
In these kind of scenarios.
Okay.
Your mom.
Your mom gets
mom gets a Trump card because that's who she is.
Right.
And so I totally get what he's saying. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you think somebody else cannot let her can go around not letting her off.
Yeah,
the hook.
you and I can take her to task.
Right, exactly. Right. We don't give us her number.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
give her a call. No, but I think your mom gets a pass. You know your mom. You know who she is. You know she's never going to change her ways.
Right.
Maybe you know your mom to be really open-minded, and you can go to her with anything.
Right.
But as somebody with a mother who is not going to change,
Right.
I can say you give your mom a pass. Maybe you don't give your dad a pass. Maybe you go to loggerheads with him, but you give your mom a pass.
I think here's the deal. I think she's right conceptually. I think Erica is absolutely right conceptually that it's not okay that you can't just shuffle off someone's behavior based on their membership in an organization. Your behavior is your own. You own it.
Yeah.
And just because you belong to an organization, you're choosing that organization too.
Right.
So no, absolutely not. Your behavior is your own. If you're a racist and you blame it on your religion, that still makes you a racist.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you hate the queers and you blame that on your religion, you're still a homophobic jerk.
Yeah.
And that's
true. That's true. And that's what I'm saying is that you can call random people out on that.
Yeah.
But people that you have close associations with and whom you know very well,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot harder.
She's 80, Erica. Like, what are you going to do? You just wait for her. You don't talk about this stuff ever with her.
Well, here's
ever.
Yeah.
And you wait for her to die.
Oh, she's probably going to live another decade.
Well, no, I'm not saying you hope for her to die. I'm saying you write it out in terms of like the hating of the gays. I'm saying
there are also generational things that here that I think we can
exactly.
I mean,
that's true.
My grandmother is like 86, 87, something like that.
Right.
And shit that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like,
you say you give your mom a pass. I say old people.
Yeah.
I say it's one of those things where you're not going to change their minds.
Yeah.
You're not going to do anything. You kind of let it slide at some point. I look forward to being old enough that I can just sort of say whatever bullshit crap thing I want that comes out of my head.
Yeah.
With impunity.
My grandmother must be 89.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she's getting old. I was just thinking about that because my mom's about to turn 70.
Wow.
And so...
Yeah. There you go.
Wow. Grandma's getting old.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Wow.
Happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for writing in, Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Erica.
What else we got?
Let's see. The next thing up. There was also an email from Anne.
That was a fun email.
This is a really fun email. Anne is a librarian in Indiana. She says, and she says that it's that our she credits us with having, or at least the podcast, with having made her a kinder, gentler atheist.
Oh,
which is
that's
nice.
great.
She sounds like kind of a little bit of a spitfire, right?
Yeah,
She's got something going on here where she gets angry and everything about.
Well, I mean,
people and the situation that she finds herself in with. She has a Mormon boss, so
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all, as atheists, we encounter plenty of moments that make us mad.
Oh, absolutely.
But the question is, how are we going to deal with it? Are we going to have a sense of humor about it? Are we going to, or are we going to let it be poison in our lives?
Yeah.
And I'm gratified to hear that we've helped someone.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Breathe through some of these awful, stupid things that we encounter.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, she responds to the temple film.
That's right. Because we talked about the Mormon Temple endowment ceremony now being available on YouTube.
Yeah,
which is a big deal for Mormons.
Yeah, because now they can go do the endowment online. Which is, no. It was
great?
secret camera and all of that.
Right,
So,
yeah. Oh, the Mormons didn't want this to be available.
not at all.
No.
And so she says it's cheesy.
Yeah.
She was waiting for something kind of fun.
Technically, she says it's way cheesy.
That's true. She said she got really excited about an hour and 8 minutes into it because the window above the altar looked like a blimp or a spaceship and slowed down, and so she slowed it down. She was just kind of shuttling through it,
Right.
Hoping to find a reference to aliens like in Scientology. But alas, it was just blah, blah, blah. The white suits
Mormons
are
are
cheesy.
really good at blah, blah, blah.
The white garments look so cheap and totally bland.
Yeah. Well, until they put on the toga and the chef hat, then it looks a little less bland.
Less bland, still just boring. I think what I'm discovering with everybody's response that we're hearing in, because I mean we live here, and the people that we talk to are either people who did not grow up Mormon but who are very familiar with Mormonism and have their own sort of axe to grind with Mormonism a little bit. Or they're ex-Mormon and they've just got tons of stuff to say, and we had that creep out factor from the temple. But what I'm realizing now, hearing from people, who come from other places and don't have this experience with Mormonism, is that it's actually just kind of boring and cheesy, and who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, we made a mistake when we posted this thing.
Yeah.
We talked about going through bit by bit and finding the most interesting parts and giving cluing people into where to fast forward to.
Yeah.
And we didn't do
We
that.
didn't do that.
And it's boring. It's too boring to actually just watch the whole thing.
But I think that the point that a lot of people have been making in their feedback to us is that it's just normal. It's just
no crazier than...
Yeah, it's no crazier than anybody else. But anyways, so I actually find it really interesting to be hearing this, and I'm kind of reevaluating my perspective on Mormonism.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then I love at the end of this, she says that she loves to find out more about Mormonism because of this Mormon boss who nobody likes apparently at her work. And it helps... The podcast helps with her little study of Mormonism, and that she likes to share with the staff. They absolutely love to hear about yet another wacko tidbit that our bitchy boss believes. Improves morale. I thought that was great.
That's really funny.
So thanks, Anne.
Yes, thank you, Anne. That is delightful.
Yeah.
So now what we're going to play for you, lovely people, is our interview
with Mike.
With Mike, we tracked down the very fellow who created the temple video.
The captured.
Yes.
The temple ceremony
who
on secret camera.
Went into the temple.
Snuck in.
Unbeknownst to the LDS Church.
Yes.
And did that.
Some secret spy stuff here.
Super secret spy stuff.
All right. So here's Mike.
Here it is. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
It's great to have you here. Now, the reason that we've got you here is because we were made aware of you by the fact that you posted some web videos on YouTube of the endowment ceremony at the LDS Temple. Is that right?
Yes, indeedy.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually, I saw it on Religion News Service. It was one of their top 10, or their top 7, I think is what it was, sort of most provocative religious videos that hit the internet from 2012. I mean, what kind of response have you had, I guess?
I would have to say a majority of the response was, so far, has been very positive. It's about 10 to 1, 10 positive for every 1 negative. The negative ones tend to be really negative. Like last week, I had a couple of Mormon priesthood holders, raise their proverbial arms to the square and curse me with the priesthood and tell me that if I don't repent and take the videos offline, that Elohim from Kolob is going to smite me. And coincidentally, like 4 days later, I got a really bad cold.
Oh, no. You say coincidentally.
Well, I know.
That doesn't sound like
I
a
think
coincidence.
that basically shows the power of Elohim but it also shows his compassion, because he just gave me a cold. He could have given me, he could have paralyzed me from the neck down. He could have given me herpes.
That is nice. He's a gentle God, isn't he?
Well,
he's a nice guy. Just a cold.
He's nice to me.
Well, that is interesting. I was sort of funneling through all of the what do you call them? Comments on the video, on the YouTube video, and I saw at least somebody calling you out and in the name of the Melchizedek priesthood, take this down and all of that sort of thing. Have you gotten any official response from the church themselves?
No, much to my disappointment. I look at the LDS Church as I think they're spiritual bullies, and I grew up with the belief that there's really two ways to deal with a bully. One way is you avoid eye contact. If you see them coming down the street, you either cross the street or turn around and go the opposite way. You want to avoid them at all costs. I don't like that approach. The other approach is to go up, punch them in the face, knock them on the ground, and when they're wiping the blood from their nose, you taunt them and say, "Come on, get up, I'll give you some more." That is my approach with the Mormon Church. And I would be surprised if somebody in the Mormon Church didn't listen to this. And I want to emphasize to them, please stop me. See if you can. Do anything. Sue me. I would love that. I would put the church on trial. And I've even gone so far as to tell them point blank, on Tuesday, January 8th, 2013, I will be in one of the temples making a new video. I've even narrowed it down for them because the way I see it, Elohim clearly is busy. He's too busy to keep me out of the temples, so I'm making it really easy for him. I'll either be in the Bountiful, Salt Lake, Jordan River, or Draper Temple sometime this coming Tuesday, the 8th of January, I'll even narrow it down more, between noon and 9 p.m. So if he can't stop me then, you've got to ask yourself, maybe, does he want me in the temples, or does he just not care, or does he not exist?
Well, that's all very interesting.
I mean, it really begs the question of I don't want you to reveal your secret as to how you're doing it, but you're not in good standing with the church. No.
I left the Mormon Church in 2002 when I discovered it was not true. Simple as that. I decided, actually, when I left the church in 2002, I knew that someday I'd have to go back into the temple and record this stuff. And in 2005, when they made major changes to what they call the washing and anointing ceremony, I actually went to the temple that day. It was in January. I'm going to say January 19th, 2005, when that change went into effect. And it was a massive change. Back in the day, in the washing and anointing ceremony, you would go in virtually naked. You're wearing nothing but this thin poncho type of thing.
Right.
No underwear, nothing. And they would touch you all over your body with, water and oil, blessing you and consecrating you with this oil. And they would touch you on your legs, your arms, your ears, your mouth, your lips, your loins, as they say.
Yeah.
They're touching you all over. But in January 2005, they changed that so that they just touch you on your forehead now, and then they put a little drop of oil on the crown of your head. There's no more, as Mormons would say, there's no more naked touching in the washing and anointing ceremony. But the day that went into effect, within 4 hours of that change taking place, I had the entire transcript of the new ceremony online on a website that I used to have. And I decided in 2005, 2006, that I had to get serious about recording the endowment ceremony. I realized that the transcript of it is online. You can go online and read it, but a picture tells 1,000 words. When you've got full color video of grown men and women dressed in these ridiculous outfits, and they're practicing Masonic handshakes, and they're doing the whole raising their hands and chanting, it looks so much more ridiculous when you actually see it as opposed to just reading it. And so in 2006 I got an idea, and I realized that I can make this happen, and It was a plan in progress for several years.
Yeah. I'm wondering, because so many of our listeners don't have a lot of experience with Mormonism. I was wondering if you could just kind of explain sort of the recommend process, like how people.
That's true. You need a lot of credentials to get into that.
Yeah,
temple.
like what you're going into the temple with. I'm assuming a falsified set of credentials.
In order to go to the temple, you've got to have a couple interviews. One with typically with your bishop, and one with your stake president or a member of the stake presidency. And you're answering a bunch of questions. You have to, answer affirmatively that you believe the church is true, that Joseph Smith is a prophet of God. You have to pay a full tithe, so you have to give 10% of your gross income to the church.
Right.
Generally, for a period of a year, some bishops have a little flexibility there, but for the most part, you're paying 10% of your income, your gross income, to the church for a year, a minimum. It's a worthiness interview. You're interviewing to prove your worthiness and your loyalty to the Mormon Church.
Yeah.
And I haven't been very secretive about the fact that I have at least half a dozen friends who work for the church, some in church security, some are just volunteer people that work in the temples that simply don't believe anymore.
Really?
And so, let's face it, there's probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of active Mormons that on the surface they appear to be active, but inside they don't believe it's true. And when I approached them and said, I want to get this thing on video, they were more than happy to help me make that happen.
Wow.
And I have had a couple
some cloak and dagger stuff up in here.
Oh yeah. No, I had some, and I've been so. I wanted to give Elohim and his followers every opportunity possible to catch me. As a Mormon growing up, you're taught that they have this power of discernment, that there's no way that somebody like me, an ex-Mormon, and not even an ex-Mormon, but I am somebody that people would classify as an anti-Mormon. No way that the power of discernment that all of these temple employees have and temple workers have would allow somebody like myself to get into the temple, let alone get in and record the entire thing. And so when I go into the temple, I've had temple recommends under all sorts of interesting names. I use a temple recommend under the name Mark Hoffman, who you may be aware is kind of the guy's in prison for life for murdering people, and it's
falsifying documents.
Google Mark Hoffman, and you'll see who he is. I've gone into the temple.
You guys, it's a good Utah joke. Yeah. I don't. Most of our listeners probably don't know it, but we laughed. I've gone in with temple recommends. I had a temple recommend under the name Paul H. Dunn, who was another notorious figure in Mormon history, and the guy was a pathological liar. But I strike up conversations with employees or the temple workers. 2 months ago, I was literally for 2.5 hours manning the recommend desk in the Salt Lake Temple. So when. And I had the whole thing, the suit and the name tag and everything like that. And I'm just chatting with people, and they're coming in, and it's funny, there was this group of people that came in for a wedding. This wedding group comes in, and they're all together, you could tell, and they're all handing them recommends, and I'm scanning them in, and you scan them in now with the computer and all that. And the last guy in line, I think he knew his recommend had expired, or so, I don't know what it was. I didn't even look close enough to see it expired, but I scanned it, and a little red light came on the computer, very clearly indicating, nope, don't let him in. And I thought, what kind of a hypocrite would I be? If I've been out of the Mormon church for 10 years, and I tell this guy, no, I'm sorry, you're not worthy to see your brother get married today, because I let him in. I didn't say anything. I just, just smiled and let him in. You know what I just realized? The Lord made that happen.
There you go.
That guy was meant to see that wedding, and you were the Lord's tool.
There you go.
Did
you just call me a tool? What?
No, it was the Lord that called you that.
The Lord's tool.
He's a jerk like that.
Now, the funny thing, you guys should know this, although this is thank God I'm Atheist podcast, I actually am not an atheist.
Okay.
I believe, let me ask you this. if you believe in an afterlife, does that in and of itself mean that you believe in God?
No, I mean,
probably not.
You can invent any number of scenarios, I'm sure, in which that wouldn't be necessary.
Yeah, I tend to be very sarcastic. If somebody asks me, what I believe in, I tell them I'm Pastafarian, that I believe in the flying spaghetti monster. Because,
right.
I mean, how arrogant is it to not just say you believe in God, but then to go into detail and say where he lives. He lives on a place called Kolob, or near a place called Kolob, that he has wives, and this is what he looks like. And I'm sure you guys have heard the stories of somebody painting a picture of Christ and one of the Mormon prophets saying, that looks just like him.
Right.
So it's really, so Christ looks white with blue eyes.
Sure.
No, it's afraid not. So I'm not so arrogant to say that I know, who or what God is. I don't know if you'd even use the term God to describe what I believe in, but I do believe in something after this life. And I think if I had to describe it, I would say my personal description of God is more like the Force from Star Wars.
Okay.
And it exists out there. It's not necessarily an individual. It's just a power, a force, whatever.
Sure.
And I think after we die, at least those of us that aren't complete douchebags, perhaps become part of this entity known as God.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. You posted the things online. Was there a reason that it happened now? Like, is this a time period? You kind of coincided with what everyone's calling the Mormon moment. Yeah. Was that on purpose?
No. Like I said, I've been planning it for years. It wasn't until Mitt Romney clinched the nomination. I guess it was year before last. When he clinched the nomination, I realized I got to step this up. I'm sorry. This is a man who, besides the fact that I personally find Mitt Romney repugnant, the guy, I feel very uncomfortable with a man in the White House who has sworn an oath to consecrate all of his time, talents, and everything he has, or everything he ever will have, to any organization, let alone a religious organization. And that's exactly what Mitt Romney has done. I've done that. If the two of you were born and raised in the church, if you've been to the temple, both of you at one time or another have done that. But Mitt Romney continues to do it. Mitt Romney has, and as a stake president, odds are Mitt Romney has been to the temple, I would venture to guess, a minimum of 100 times. I mean, I've been through at least 50 times. Well, actually, since I left the church, I've been through, I'm going to say about 44 times, I think. So I've actually probably been to the temple now more as an ex-Mormon than I have as a Mormon. And most of the time that I've gone in the past, keep in mind, when I left the church in 2002, it was a lot more simple back then. They didn't have computers in the temple.
Right.
The recommends are very simple. And I literally had an unending supply of temple recommends that I would provide to people for free that wanted to see their family members get married in the temple. So there was this...
Wait a minute. So people's families were okay with a member go... Or
Now, these are people that, for example, I had a gentleman who was, at the time, he was a mayor of a fairly large city in Utah, and he and his wife were active members of the church, but they weren't really firm in their belief. And so because of that, they would go for looks and all that, but they didn't pay their tithing. And then all of a sudden, they had a child getting married in the temple in another state, and they wanted to get temple recommends to go, and their bishop said, well, you'd have to get caught up on your tithing. And so he's telling me this.
You got to pay to play.
He's telling me this, and I said, dare I ask, how much do you have to pay to get caught up on your tithing? And
right.
He said $22,000.
Oh, my God.
So
I hope you charged him 10.
It was the most appalling. I thought to myself, wait a second, this poor guy has to pay $22,000, and that will instantly make him worthy. So before handing the check over, he's not worthy to see his son get married in the temple.
Right. After
handing the check over, he's instantly worthy. If that is how God works, God is a douchebag. Seriously, that is the most reprehensible thing. I joked to him. I said, well, that's fantastic. I'll only charge you $10,000.
Right.
No, I gave it to him for free.
Nice.
He did actually send me in the mail a Starbucks gift card later, which I thought was funny. I thought that was appropriate.
Well, let me ask you this: you went out, you did, you decided that this needed to happen. You say you went through the temple a few times after you had left the church, and you decided you needed to do video. Why?
To provide information. Simple as that. I think, in my opinion, 99% of people who were interested in Mormonism, that perhaps were meeting with missionaries and having the discussions, I believe if they were to see what goes on in the temple, because let's face it, missionaries aren't going to tell people anything about the temple.
Well, it's sacred.
Or sacred. You have to say
it's not secret. It's sacred.
So I just thought it's wrong. They're being blindsided. People are joining the church, and not until at least a year later are they going through the temple. And by that point, you're in so deep. I mean, somebody told me the other day through a text message or something, they said, you could have just left. When I was telling about the temple and how appalling it was, they said you could have just left. Mm-hmm. Now, the first time I went to the temple, I was 19 years old. I'm sitting in a room surrounded by 50, 60 people, multiple family members. My mother's across the room. My brother's sitting next to me. How does a 19-year-old kid summon the strength to say, whoa, time out.
Right.
Hold on. And what I find amusing in the temple is they say at the very beginning of the ceremony, if anyone doesn't, want to participate, blah, 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 you can leave now. Please stand up now. But they don't tell you what's going to be happening. So it's not like,
But you've already bought in. Once you're doing the weird stuff, you've already bought in.
It's ridiculous. They tell you can leave if you want to. And, it's not like somebody can say, well, wait a second. Now, what's going to be happening?
Right.
Well, you'll just have to wait and see. So, the very first time I went to the temple was in 1987, and I'm standing there, and, they're having me swear an oath to consecrate everything I have, everything I ever will have, including my time and talents to the church for the building up of Zion and blah, blah, blah. And it's followed by death oaths, where we're literally putting our hands to our throats, drawing our thumbs across our throats, and saying, rather, I will not, I don't remember the exact words of the first part, but it's something to the effect of, rather than reveal any of the things that I've learned in this house this day, I would suffer my life, as you draw your thumb across your throat, to be taken.
Right.
And that's more or less a direct word-for-word quote. And you would draw your thumb across your bowels, indicating having your stomach slashed open, and you would claw your chest, indicating your heart being ripped out of your chest. And on the first one with the throat slashing thing, I kind of turned to the left a little bit, and I looked over to see if my mom was actually doing this. It was like the ultimate version of Punk'd, where you're thinking to yourself, is this for real? I mean, I've been born and raised in the church. I was born in the 60s, baptized in the 70s, went on a mission in the 80s, and I had never even had any clue. I mean, I had heard about the temple my entire life as far as, the temple's a wonderful place. It's a spiritual place, and it's the ultimate in spiritual experiences, and it's so peaceful and wonderful there. And then I'm in there pantomiming my own murder in several different fashions. And even then I thought to myself, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Yeah. But, I'd been born and raised, and, if my mom was part of this and my dad, everybody's cool with it. I thought, well, all right, maybe it's just me. Yeah. And it's not. I mean, you Google something to the effect of my first time in the temple, and you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of stories of people who went to the Mormon temple for the first time, and they put their thoughts online.
Wow.
And it's disturbing. I mean, especially before 1990. Now, 1990, they removed the death oaths because, just like God changed his mind about black people in 1978, God decided in 1990 that perhaps death oaths weren't quite necessary.
Sure. Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit right now, and I'm just going to ask you, considering, I didn't go through the temple, Frank did, but I've seen your videos. I know, and I knew, friends have told me all of what happens in the temple ceremony. And part of my question is, yeah, you went through it. It's creepy. It's weird. It's bizarre. You're out of it now. Why is it important to you to keep pursuing it? Why has it stayed with you this strongly?
Yeah, why not just walk away? Right?
Yeah.
You know, I've had that question asked a lot of times. I answered that for my brother probably the best. After I left the church, I was literally like the only one in my family who had actually left the church at the time. And it was devastating to my family. My mother cried for weeks. But my brother Tom, whenever I'd call him on the phone and talk with him, I'd try and turn the discussion towards the church, and I would try and just get some little tidbits of information in there to him, so that, you know, to make him think. And, you know, he would tell me, why don't you just leave it alone? Why do you have to, and what I said to him was this. I said, imagine if we were in a house, we're all down in the basement, having a party in the game room or whatever, birthday party, and all of a sudden I get a phone call and I've got to go to work. So I get in my car, I'm driving away from the house, and I look in my rearview mirror and I see flames coming out of the top floor of the house. Now, what if I go back to the house? I mean, obviously I'd go back and I'd run down to the basement and tell everybody, get out of the house. The house is on fire. You got to get out of the house. And my brother says to me, this is just pathetic. Misery loves company. You can't be here having a good time. You've got to go to work, and so you want to ruin it for everybody. The house isn't on fire. And I would say, well, no, the house is on fire. Come outside and take a look. You just have to come outside and take a look. I'm not going anywhere. You go to work and leave us alone. Let us have a good time. I said to my brother, at what point would I go out to my car, grab a crowbar, come back in and start swinging and threaten you and tell you, I insist you step outside of this house and simply look at the smoke billowing out of the top windows. And if I've got to smack you upside the head, drag you outside to save your life, then so be it. Now, I'm not a Christian zealot where I think, oh, they're all going to go to hell. But Mormonism is harmful in so many ways. There's great people that are in it. They have a great time. They love it. It's fantastic. But what it comes down to is it true? And the answer, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt, the answer is no. And so I couldn't simply leave and not help other people see the truth.
Well, I kind of want to get back to the temple
a
little bit. And the fact that you've announced when you're going to be going next, and or at least one of the times that you're going to be there. And I'm just I'm curious. I don't know that I know what they would do if they actually caught you in the temple.
I was about a week after the 2005 incident where I got the transcript of the new washing and anointing ceremony online. I was hand-delivered a letter by a couple of gentlemen from church security telling me that I was no longer allowed in any temples on any temple property, and if I go back, they will charge me with trespassing. So, realistically, worst-case scenario, they'll charge me with trespassing. It's a Class B misdemeanor, I believe, $555 fine. I have no problem with that.
I'm sorry.
I'm also sorry, Dave. I'm also curious though about the sort of the intellectual property issue. Like, have they actually like? I mean, I know that these people love to copyright everything.
Yes, they do.
I'm just wondering about the temple ceremony. Did they not put a copyright on the film?
It's funny you should ask that. The church has a company called Intellectual Reserve Incorporated. And so when somebody, for example, Sandra Tanner with Utah Lighthouse Ministry, years ago when they posted some sort of a bishop's handbook or a link to that online, it wasn't the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that sued them. It was Intellectual Reserve Incorporated.
Wow.
They are the copyright holders on these things. And so one of the first things I did was I did a little search to find out, and believe it or not, the temple endowment ceremony is not copyrighted by the church or by Intellectual Reserve.
Well, they would have to have registered what it was.
Yes.
To do that.
But I've done a search for that. I've looked for that, and the funny thing is there's nothing that they could do to me that would make me wish I hadn't done it.
I'm wondering, is there something about Mormonism that what is it that keeps people in? Do you think? I mean, I know how hard it was for me to get out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering maybe what your experience was with that. Was it?
Oh, it was horrible. When my wife and I left the church in 2002, my wife had a sister that would come over to our house and play with our kids probably 4 or 5 times a week. She's single, doesn't have any kids of her own. She loves our kids. And so she'd come to our house 3, 4, maybe even 5 times a week, playing with our kids for a couple hours. And when we left the church, January 6th, 2002, we did not see or hear from her sister for over a year. Not a peep, not a phone call. We instantly became like the Antichrist. And as atheists, I'm sure you guys have encountered that, where you can almost see, people, they treat you one way, and the second you make them aware of the fact that you're an atheist, all of a sudden, and they think they start covering their babies for fear that you're going to eat their child or something. So it's very painful. It's very, very hard to leave any organization like that. Although Mormons will claim that they don't practice shunning, like, for example, the Amish do, or Jehovah's Witnesses, I think they do as well. They do. Oh, yes, make no mistake.
There's a de facto.
Oh, yeah, they shun you. It's just they're so much better at it.
Yeah.
They're
pretty sly.
They'll shun you, and you won't even realize that you're being shunned. But trust me, you're being shunned.
Do you feel like, did you anticipate that kind of backlash when you knew when you and your wife decided to leave the church?
Yes. I started discovering the truth in September of 2001, and for September, October, November, I guess for about 4 months, I studied and read everything I get my hands on. And for any Mormon listeners out there, I prayed like I'd never prayed in my life. I went to the bishop, gave him a list of concerns I had. He put me in touch with a fellow named Rhett James, who was a amateur historian. Apparently, he wrote the Martin Harris pageant, and he's a institute teacher up at Utah State University. I contacted my uncle who worked at BYU and shared concerns with him and asked for help. I was basically telling everybody out there, help me. I have concerns. I'm afraid the church may not be true. Help me resolve these concerns. And it was only after months of begging people and reading and studying that I came to the conclusion that there is an answer. Because a lot of people would say, well, there's no answer for that. We don't know the answer to that. And I realized there is one answer for virtually every single question I had. And that answer is Joseph Smith was a fraud. As soon as you realize Joseph Smith was a fraud, the Book of Mormon isn't true. It's not a historical document of actual people that existed. Then all of the questions you have are answered. It made perfect sense. All of a sudden it's like, well, that makes perfect sense now. Yes, he was a fraud. He was a con artist. And his con continues to live on. It's sad.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Mike, we really appreciate you coming out. We were fascinated by the video. Obviously, we posted it on our website and invited our listeners to go and watch it if they could make it through the boring.
It's great for a drinking game too, though. If you're watching that, every time you hear the word Elohim, or when you hear the phrase "we will go down,"
we will go down,
you take a shot, and you'll be trashed by the time it's over.
Yeah, by the time you're done, you'll be like, "What is wanted? I don't know. What do you want?" Anyway, all right. Well, Mike, thanks for coming. We really appreciate
you very
it,
much.
and keep in touch.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks.
So there you go. I did want to read some quick comments that we got about the temple video. We posted it, and then we asked people about it.
Yeah.
So Thane said on Facebook, he said, so much of it is so damn goofy. I just voted for boring. I put a question out there. Oh. Did you think it was boring? Did you think it was creepy? What did you think? He said, I just voted for boring rather than both creepy and boring. Lucifer's overacting is probably the best part. He was talking about the video within the movie within the video.
Yeah.
He said, I heard in the next version of the movie they're going to get Shatner.
That would be awesome. Actually, a fun fact, Gordon Jump, who was the station manager on WKRP in Cincinnati.
Right.
If you remember that show.
Sure.
And you can picture Gordon Jump, that man. He was in the temple video because he's Mormon.
Oh, right.
There was way back in the day, they did a film that my parents, the first time they went through the temple back in the 70s,
WKRP in the temple.
Gordon Jump was on TV at that point.
That's so funny.
On prime time, and there he was also in the temple.
I'm sure that they were scrambling to replace him. Like
yeah,
in the temple
probably.
video.
Because I think the film was an older film
Right.
before he became a star.
Well, now it's super
a
old.
star.
It's newer than that one, but it's a super old film now.
It is super old.
Anyway,
You can tell by Eve's hair.
Carrie says that it's creepy. It's goofy, creepy, and boring, and somehow reminded her of an old 1970s Disney World attraction.
Not far off.
Worst Epcot display ever. Anyway, and then who else did I have? I had somebody else who said something. George said that he watched it and it was no weirder than anything else.
Yeah,
and
that seems to be people's response. And I was mildly baffled and kind of blown away by it when we were first getting the responses. But the more I think about it, the perspective is all religion is kooky. If you just look at what people are doing in Mass, right, or during Mass, or during a regular church service.
There you go. It's no weirder than talking in tongues.
Absolutely not.
Anyway.
Well,
so there you go.
Yeah.
As George on Facebook put it, same batshit, different cave.
Yeah.
I love it.
Great. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, sumanane humanana to all of you out there.
And that means if you'd like to follow us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Right. Or you can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And you could also potentially leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
We look forward to hearing from you.
And give us your thoughts. Did you find it maybe a little more creepy than some of these listeners?
Or if you're bored with the whole temple thing, just give us your thoughts on whatever you want.
I think we need to move on.
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to move on. So if you're tired of the temple, as we kind of are, next week.
Or, if you're fascinated by something Mike said, certainly go ahead and comment.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah.
Give us your reactions to the interview with Mike. We'd love to hear that. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Great to talk to you.
Bye-bye. Bye.